It was supposed to be just another routine checkup. Quick visit to the clinic, a few basic tests, and they'd be on their way. The father, Mark, had taken his 9-year-old daughter Lily to the pediatrician that morning like any caring parent would. But from the moment they walked into the room, something didn't feel right. Mark seemed unusually tense. He kept fidgeting in his seat, avoiding eye contact, and answering the nurse's casual questions with short, hesitant replies. At first, it seemed like maybe he was just nervous about the doctor's office. But then, Lily rolled up her sleeve for a simple blood test, and that's when everything shifted. The nurse, cheerful and talkative at first, went quiet as she read the results coming through the screen. Her expression changed. Her eyes darted from the computer back to Lily and then to Mark. Without saying much, she excused herself from the room and stepped out to speak with the doctor. Mark's hands started trembling. He pulled out his phone, texting someone quickly before putting it away just as fast. Lily, confused, asked what was wrong, but her dad just forced a smile and told her everything was fine. What did the nurse see in the test results that made her panic? Why was Mark so on edge before anything even happened? Something wasn't adding up, and within minutes, a routine checkup had turned into the beginning of a mystery no one in that clinic was prepared for. The doctor entered the room moments later, calm but clearly focused. He greeted Lily warmly, then glanced at Mark, whose face had lost even more color. Without sitting down, the doctor gently asked Mark to step outside with him for a private word. Mark hesitated, looked at Lily, then followed. Through the closed door, Lily could hear only muffled voices, but her dad's tones sounded worried, desperate even. Back in the hallway, the doctor lowered his voice. "These results don't match what we have on file," he said. "There are irregularities markers that suggest something unusual, even genetic. Has Lily ever had tests done elsewhere? Or is there anything we should know?" Mark's hands shook as he tried to come up with an answer. "No, nothing like that," he stammered, avoiding the doctor's eyes. Meanwhile, the nurse returned to Lily, trying to act normal but clearly distracted. She glanced at Lily's file again, then at the blood sample on her tray, as if something wasn't making sense. Lily asked if she was okay, and the nurse gave a tight smile, just double-checking. "Things, sweetie." Outside, Mark's phone buzzed again. He looked down at the screen and froze. One message, just a few words. Asterisk, they know. "Get out now." His pulse raced. He shoved the phone into his pocket, eyes darting around the hallway. What was Mark hiding? What could a blood test possibly reveal that would make a grown man so afraid? Something deeper was unraveling. Something deeper was unraveling, something that Lily had no idea. She was part of Nauquest, his thoughts spinning. That text message, gesterisk. They. No, get out now. Asterisk kept flashing in his mind like a warning siren. He took a shaky breath and forced himself to walk calmly back into the exam room, past the nurse who was now whispering something to the doctor. Lily smiled up at him, swinging her legs off the edge of the table, unaware that her life had just shifted in a way she couldn't yet understand. The doctor cleared his throat and tried to sound neutral. "We're going to run the test one more time, just to be sure. Sometimes machines glitch." Mark nodded too quickly, eyes still avoiding contact. "Sure, that's smart." Back at home later that evening, Mark quietly slipped into his bedroom and opened a locked drawer. Inside was a small envelope with Lily's birth certificate, some photos and a hospital band with a different last name. He stared at it, torn. He had promised to keep this secret buried. But now it was catching up with him. Meanwhile, at the clinic, the nurse stayed behind after her shift. She couldn't shake what she saw in Lily's blood work. It didn't just mismatch her chart, it suggested something impossible. She logged into a secure medical network, searching for similar cases. What she found made her stomach drop. Lily's DNA markers were flag not for illness, but for a high-profile missing child alert filed years ago. In another state, the pieces were moving fast now, but no one yet knew where they would land. The nurse couldn't sleep that night. The file she had accessed kept haunting her. Lily's blood markers weren't just unique. They were identical to a national missing child report from nearly 6 years ago. The girl in the database had vanished during a custody dispute that made headlines back then. Her photo had aged, but the resemblance was undeniable. The nurse hesitated before making the call. Reporting this could change Lily's life forever, and if she was wrong. But deep down, she knew she wasn't. Meanwhile, Mark paced the kitchen floor, staring at the front door every few seconds. He kept checking his phone, waiting for instructions, but none came. Just silence. He knew the nurse saw something. He'd seen the look in her eyes. His worst fear was happening. His past was catching up. He went into Lily's room where she was asleep, hugging her stuffed rabbit. He sat beside her quietly, brushing her hair back, feeling the weight of every decision he'd made. Back at the clinic, the doctor had reviewed the flagged report too. He hadn't said anything yet, but he'd made a few calls of his own. By morning, a quiet alert had been sent to authorities. Unmarked vehicles began circling the neighborhood, and a detective reviewed security footage from the clinic as Mark began packing a small bag. Unaware they were already closing in, Lily stirred and asked sleepily, "Daddy, are we going somewhere?" He didn't answer. The walls were closing in, and time was running out. Mark hesitated as Lily's voice echoed in the quiet room. Looked at him with sleepy eyes, unaware of the storm about to hit. He forced a soft smile. "Just a little trip, sweetheart. We might need to leave early." He zipped up the small bag, heart pounding. He had planned for this moment years ago, but never expected it to actually come. As the sun rose, a black SUV parked down the street. Inside, 2 plainclothes officers waited, watching the house. Meanwhile, the nurse received a restricted call from someone she didn't expect, Lily's biological mother. Her voice cracked with emotion. "You saw her, didn't you? I got the alert. After 6 years, someone finally found her." The nurse was speechless. "How did you get my number?" The woman replied, "They told me to keep quiet until it was confirmed, but I knew. I always knew she was alive." At the same time, the doctor called the local authorities with one more update. There was something even stranger. Lily's blood showed signs of recent medical tampering. Nothing dangerous, but enough to suggest that someone had been intentionally altering records or hiding a history. The question wasn't just who took Lily. It was why. Just as Mark stepped out the front door with Lily in his arms, a car pulled into the driveway, but it wasn't law enforcement. It was someone from his past he never expected to see again. Someone who could ruin everything. And they weren't alone. Mark froze on the porch, clutching Lily as the unfamiliar car came to a stop. The door opened, and a woman stepped out, told her, worn by time and grief, but unmistakably the woman from the photo in Lily's missing child report. Lily's biological mother. Behind her stood 2 federal agents, their badges barely visible. Beneath their jackets, Mark's heart sank. He had run out of moves. Lily looked between them, confused. "Daddy, who is that lady?" Mark couldn't speak. The agents approached slowly, hands visible, calm but firm. "Mark Donovan," one said. "We need to talk. You know why we're here." Mark gently set Lily down, crouching beside her. "Sweetheart, I need you to be brave right now, okay? Everything's going to be all right." Tears welled in his eyes. He stood and turned to the woman. "I didn't take her to hurt you. I was trying to protect her from the people you were with. You know what I'm talking about?" The woman's face hardened, then softened. "That was years ago. And I've spent every second since trying to fix what I let happen. Oh, she stepped forward, tears in her eyes too. Lily hid behind Mark's leg. Just as it seemed the moment would break, the agent's radio crackled. Be advised. New development: DNA matches confirm. The mother may not be who she claims. Everyone froze, even the woman. The agent looked at her, suddenly suspicious. The truth had finally come out, but now, it seemed, they had all been chasing the wrong story. The tension was thick as the second agent stepped aside to take the radio call. Moments later, he returned with a file in hand fresh from federal records. There's been a mistake, he said quietly, eyes narrowing at the woman. You're not Lily's biological mother. The DNA you submitted. It doesn't match. Gasps filled the air. Even Mark looked stunned. The woman stepped back, trembling. No, that can't be. They told me, but the agent cut her off. We believe you were manipulated, possibly by someone who wanted access to Lily. There's more going on here than we thought. He turned to Mark. Your records were sealed for a reason. You weren't running from justice, you were protecting her. Mark looked down at Lily, who gripped his hand tighter. So what now? He asked, his voice raw. The agents exchanged a glance. We'll need to open a full investigation, but for now, she stays with you. Mark collapsed to his knees in relief, hugging Lily tightly. Later, back inside the quiet house, Mark sat on the edge of her bed as Lily slept peacefully. The lies, the secrets, the running it was finally over. Though the road ahead would be full of questions and healing, the truth had brought unexpected freedom.